And so then I started working on myself on improving these things. So I started working on my lymphatic system. I started working on my nervous system. I started working on my gut. And in a year, I was able to get into complete remission from this disease. I was completely pain-free, completely dryness-free, and then also completely medication-free by that time. Of course, with the help of my rheumatologist, not on my own.
Welcome to the Radical Health Rebel podcast. I'm your host, Lee Brandon. This work started for me several decades ago when I started to see the impact I could make on people, helping them to identify the root cause of their health problems that no doctor could figure out, including serious back, knee, shoulder and neck injuries, acne and eczema issues, severe gut health problems, even helping couples get pregnant after several IVF treatments had failed. And it really moves me to be able to help people in this way. And that is why I do what I do and why we have this show. In this episode of the podcast, Divya Dhawan shares a personal journey with Sjogren's disease and how it led her to become a functional health practitioner. She discusses the importance of gut health, the role of diet and lifestyle in managing autoimmune conditions, and the need for movement in maintaining joint health. Divya emphasizes that joint pain is not an inevitable part of aging and that holistic approaches can lead to healing. She also provides practical steps for listeners to break the cycle of pain and improve their overall health. Divya Dhawan, welcome to the Radical Health Rebel podcast. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. It is a pleasure talking to you about health and healing and autoimmunity and all of that. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's a real pleasure. So if we dive straight in, if you could explain your own story. So what personal experiences or pivotal moments set you on the path to become a functional health practitioner and autoimmune expert?
Yeah, for sure. So I do have a story because I was diagnosed myself with an autoimmune disorder, which is called Sjogren's. And this was about almost 12 years ago that I was diagnosed with Sjogren's. Now, just a little bit of a backstory. When I was growing up as a kid, I did have a lot of digestive health issues going on. I used to have a lot of headaches off and on, food sensitivities, as well as a lot of even eating disorders that I was going through. And then I was not ever given, anything else than symptom management pills, which I kept using because I did not know any better. But then when I grew up and I was in the US, and this was 2012, I started having these rashes on my cornea, which were just unexplained. And I went to a couple of doctors to understand what's going on and to get diagnosed, really, because it was a big inconvenience because my eyes were scratchy, they were red, and then there was this cornea on my eye, which no one could explain. So in spite of my running to many doctors, I could not find any answers. And then life just went on. And then the next year, in 2013, actually, the spring of 2013 to be very precise, I came down with a very bad flare-up of this autoimmune disorder called Sjogren's disease, in which my eyes were like swollen, my mouth was dry. I did have some patches of like psoriasis developing here and there in my legs. And apart from that, I also had a lot of debilitating pain in almost every joint in my body, and every muscle of my body was stiff. So that was such a debilitating state that I didn't want to be in. So after going to like 5 or 6 doctors trying to find out what's going on with me, which was again a struggle, I did eventually land with a rheumatologist who was able to diagnose me with this disease called Sjogren's. And that's when I found out everything relates, because I have the swollen eyes, I have the dry eyes, the cornea, that was developing that ulcer, and all of those things just related to Sjogren's. And but the thing that happened then was that I was very happy when I got the diagnosis, as anyone else would be. But then as soon as I asked my doctor, like, okay, now we have found what I have, so what's the path forward? What's the cure? How do I get better from this? And the answer was very disheartening, because all I was told was that I'm sorry, there's no cure for this. We cannot really do anything about it. We only have to manage your symptoms for your whole life, and we'll start you on this particular medication. And this stops working, we'll progress to a different medication. And that answer told me that this whole disease is going to keep me stuck in a state of pain and suffering, which I decided I don't want to be in. So I did not accept the prognosis, uh, you know, and I started looking for a lot of answers online because I do have a background of Ayurveda, which is a 5,000 years old medicine system from India. And what I found was that everything goes back to the gut. According to the Ayurvedic perspective, everything goes back to the gut. So if your gut is not good, there are imbalances, there are toxins, there are whatever, your body will develop different kinds of diseases. And so then I started working on myself on improving these things. So I started working on my lymphatic system. Started working on my nervous system. I started working on my gut. And in a year, I was able to get into complete remission from this disease. I was completely pain free, completely dryness free, and then also completely medication free by that time. Of course, with the help of my rheumatologist, not on my own. So that's kind of my backstory, which got me into becoming a coach, and that fuels my passion to help others so that everyone else who believes that they cannot be cured and this is the only path forward for them, they can actually see that there are options and their body has the capability to heal.
Mm. Yeah, I'm just curious. Do you know, is methotrexate often used for Sjogren's?
So yeah, definitely methotrexate is used with Sjogren's, but that happens after the first two options have been, used and haven't worked on Sjogren's. So the first two options are: first option is steroids, which is given for a cup for like 30 days, hoping that the body will bring down the inflammation and everything's going to get better, which obviously does not happen because there is so many imbalances happening which are not addressed. And then the second line is giving hydroxychloroquine, which is an anti-malarial drug. And somehow, and you won't believe me when I tell you this, because when I asked my doctor, because he wanted to give me hydroxychloroquine, and that is also the medication I did take for a few months before I got medication free. So I asked my doctor, being a curious person and being a scientific mind myself, I asked him, so how does this medicine work in the body that you're giving me? And the answer that I got was really so surprising that I cannot believe a doctor would say that to me. And he said that, well, we really don't know how it works, but we just know that it works, so we give it. I was like, okay, well, that's not how science works, right? So, just a little bit of a story in between. But going back to the fact that hydroxychloroquine is the second line of medication, and then when that doesn't work, then they are given methotrexate, which is a chemo drug.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, I'm quite familiar with that. I've had family members use methotrexate.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't end well, but that's a whole other episode. So, what did you do in terms of your own education to become a health coach?
So the first education that I got was from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition in New York in USA. So that gave me the basic education of how holistically I can manage not just my own, you know, condition, but also for my clients, because that is a health coach training. And that is the first education I got. But then I was not very satisfied with it because that was more of just general advice that I could give people. So I dug deeper into what can we do to find out why these things are happening in my clients. So what I did was the next course that I did was functional diagnostic nutrition, the course from functional diagnostic nutrition, which is called functional health coaching. And after doing that, I think I'm very well equipped with actually understanding what are the root causes, finding out sort of the root causes and peeling those layers and understanding why all these imbalances are happening, which are causing the symptoms with Sjogren's.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. As I know, functional diagnostic nutrition is all about finding the root cause, right?
Yeah.
Which sadly isn't what the medical establishment try to do.
Yeah. So, and that's very surprising. They should be.
Yeah. And that kind of leads me on nicely to my next question.
Yeah.
So your perspective on joint pain, really challenges the conventional medical narrative. Can you walk us through how functional medicine views joint pain differently and why so many people seem to fall through the cracks in the traditional model?
So, in the functional model, the reason for joint pains is often relating to the hormonal imbalances, the toxin buildup in the body, which is never addressed with conventional medicine. And all we are given is like band aids or symptom management, as I say, because by design, I think conventional medicine just wants to address the symptoms and doesn't go deeper. But with the functional medicine, we are able to, unpeel those layers of why these imbalances are happening in terms of your hormones and then addressing them. Or there is toxin build up many a times in people. So understanding why that is happening so that we can address it and not just, slap supplements onto these. So it's a really very multi-layered process when it comes to functional health, as you already know, probably.
Mm. Yeah, and what I find quite interesting, as you're saying, one of the causes is a buildup of toxins in the body. And what you're given by the medical community are toxic medications.
Yes, yes. So
Right.
that's, yep.
So you're not treating the cause and potentially you're making the problem worse.
Yes, in the long run, for sure. I mean, I think most people do get short term relief, and that makes them feel that, yeah, we are onto the right path. But then after a few months or years into taking that medication, most people realize that this is not working.
Mm. Yeah, and I've seen that so much. In clients that have come to me and told me those stories, but also family and friends. They've been
Hmm.
through that,
Hmm.
and I'm when it comes to friends and family, I'm not their practitioner. I'm their
Yeah,
brother, cousin, friend, whatever. That's not my role. So it's quite frustrating for me to watch that.
yeah,
It's quite sad. It's quite sad
for
to
sure.
to watch it, knowing that I can help, but obviously the person A has to ask for help, and then B has to be willing to actually follow the advice that you give them, rather than every time you give them advice, come up with an excuse as to why they can't follow
Yeah,
your
yeah.
advice.
I totally believe that's true. And if only if a person is ready to start working on themselves, number one, willing to, and then willing to follow up on that whole process, can they actually do the healing in themselves? Whether it's with a family or with a friend or with a professional, doesn't matter.
Yeah, and that's the challenge that you know people have, is that they've been so conditioned to look for that magic bullet,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the pill for every ill, so to speak.
Yeah,
And I think sadly, a lot of people aren't prepared to do the work that they need to do
yeah,
to reverse what's caused it in the first place. What do you mean I shouldn't be eating McDonald's anymore, right? Or whatever it might be.
yeah.
Oh, you're telling me I need to give up bread? Well, yeah, again, that's something I've seen as a major cause of joint issues.
For sure, yeah, yeah. And
You know,
gluten is such a huge plays such a huge role. And the problem is that we all have been conditioned to just pop a pill and feel better, which obviously was brought about in the early 1900s, but by some establishments so that the medical industry can thrive, unfortunately. But that is what the collective sort of consciousness is right now, to not consciousness, but conditioning, that there's always a pill for an ill, so that will work for us. And not believing in actually improving the lifestyle to
yeah,
change things, for sure.
yeah, and I think one of the criticisms that gets pointed at functional medicine practitioners is a lot of them practice natural allopathy,
Hmm.
right? Rather than looking at the body holistically and trying to find the root cause, they treat the symptoms with a natural product. And, joint pain is another example of how this is approached, because, we often see, or in some instances, we can see if someone takes glucosamine sulfate as an example,
Hmm.
we know that can help with joint pain. And again, as you tend to do, so why is that? How does that help? Well, one of the reasons is because the liver uses sulfur as part of the detoxification
Mm-hmm.
process. So if someone has a lot of toxins in the body, they are, let's just say, deficient in sulfur because the liver's using so much. And if you take glucosamine sulfate, it's replacing some of the lost sulfur from the joints that the liver is using to deal with the toxins, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can take glucosamine sulfate, but wouldn't it be better just to reduce your toxic intake? Wouldn't it be good to limit your toxin exposure to the environment? And again, these are things that, we can go into in a lot of detail with our clients.
Yeah.
Minimize your exposure to toxins, whether it's food or other household products or, other environmental toxins. But then there are also ways that you can extract toxins from the body. But again, there are, specific processes that people need to go through. And sadly, oftentimes people aren't prepared or willing to do those things. It's like, oh, let me take glucosamine sulfate and keep poisoning myself, right?
Yeah. And there's also such a lot of ignorance around how much toxic our environments are today, which has been made by design, of course, but the ignorance is so much. I mean, it is changing, but there's still so much ignorance around how toxic our air, water, and food is, and that we need to reduce the toxin intake in order to actually help the detoxification process. And you're right about that.
Yeah. And again, that forms quite a large part of the work we do, right? Is people identify what toxins they're exposing themselves to in their environment, in their homes, in their food, in their water. I mean, we have to worry about what they're spraying in the skies as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then come up with solutions to minimize those toxins. We can talk about, non-native EMFs as well. How can you minimize that? And if you can't reduce it, how can you protect yourself against the exposure?
Yeah, for sure.
And then how can you deal with the exposure if you've already, got build up in your body? Which is really important.
Definitely, all of those strategies need to be implemented to actually start reducing the toxin exposure and help the detoxification process for sure.
Hey everyone, I've got some exciting news to share. As many of you know, up until now, the Radical Health Rebel has focused on chronic pain, gut health, and skin health. But starting on August the 25th, the podcast will be rebranding to Beyond the Pain. And this will be focusing exclusively on chronic pain and the root causes behind it. So why the change? Well, episodes on pain have been the most popular by far, and chronic pain is something that so many of us struggle with on a daily basis. It's not just uncomfortable, it's debilitating. I've seen how it can take over lives, and I want to dedicate even more time and resources to help you understand what's really going on beneath the surface and how you can heal. I'm also excited to bring you video versions of the podcast to Spotify and YouTube to make our conversations even more engaging. Since I'll be changing podcast platforms, you may need to refollow or subscribe after the 25th of August to make sure you don't miss a thing. Be sure to follow and subscribe to the show so you'll get notifications for future episodes. I can't wait for you to join me on this next chapter. Tune in to Beyond the Pain starting on August the 25th, the same time, same place, just with a new focus. Yeah, and it's quite scary in terms of what's being proposed in the next 5 years in terms of our food supply, and that is really scary. In the UK, they've
really? I'm not up to date on that, but
so in the UK they've said there will be no meat available from 2030, and all the farms will be closed. There won't be any farms, and all the food will come from factories.
Oh my gosh, that's really scary. I think people should
from chemical factories.
People really need to get together and oppose this.
Yeah, well, again, the sad thing is most people have got their head in the sand.
Yeah.
Right? Because, if you drive around the countryside in the UK, so many farms now have been sold and they're full of wind turbines and solar panels.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
Now, I
I
don't know
mean,
if people realize this, but you can't eat solar panels or wind turbines.
yeah,
Right? And they're completely environmentally unfriendly. They're not sustainable. They only last 5 to 15 years, and you can't even recycle them. And they're
mhm,
destroying the land that they're put into. So they're completely destroying the environment, which
yeah,
they're supposedly meant to be doing the opposite.
yeah. So again, by design, the food supply is being attacked, and the environment is being attacked with a lot of toxins, taking away the good food. And what happens as a result? People start getting sicker.
Yeah. So moving on.
Yeah.
So, we hear a lot of the time that joint pain is a part of getting older. Now, for you, is that the whole picture, or is this a myth that's been accepted far too easily?
It is definitely a myth that has been accepted by most people. Um, Now, there's one thing that I would like to add for the joint pains. When we have joint pains, it is also an indication that we're not moving our body enough because um, our body needs movement. Our body has been designed for movement. So when there is not that movement that the body needs, that it's missing from our routines, then and coupled with the detoxification problems and coupled with the toxins happening in the body or the hormonal imbalances happening, which are all actually related. Nothing happens independently. But then, coupled with all of these things, when together happening in the body, will cause joint pains. So, that has nothing to do with getting older. That has to do with not taking care of your life, of your lifestyle and your diet and your environment um, more than getting old.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, one of the things you mentioned there, again, it's really important, is movement.
Hmm.
When you think most of the joints in our body, certainly the ones we tend to feel pain in, are synovial joints.
Yeah.
And, and synovial fluid is what lubricates our joints. And the only way that we get synovial fluid in our joints is from movement.
Yeah.
And, you look at most of the research, nearly all research into pain suggests that one of the greatest things you can do for pain is movement.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And when you look at it just purely from the point of view of synovial fluid in the joints, just that alone, you can understand that it's going to make a great difference. And
Yeah.
it's quite interesting, talking about joint pain in particular. I started back playing tennis about 6 to 8 weeks ago.
Hmm.
I hadn't played for 18 months. I actually had a shoulder injury. I took a year out,
Hmm.
and I went back to playing. And after a couple of weeks, I started getting pain in my left knee.
Hmm.
Now, I had pain in my left knee about 5 years ago, and I tracked it back to porridge oats,
Hmm.
which was quite interesting. As soon as I cut it out, all the pain went.
Hmm.
But this time it was the same knee, but it was slightly different. And I was thinking, it feels like it could be the meniscus. It might be chondromalacia patella. Could just be plain old osteoarthritis. I wasn't sure.
Hmm.
So I did an emotion code session on myself, and there were some emotions trapped in the knee, and I released them, and literally immediately about 50% of the pain had gone, but the 50% was still there, and
Hmm.
I wasn't happy with that. And I was doing things like I'd put ice on it, then I'd put a red light therapy device on it, and I'd go ice, heat, and I'd use Tramil ointment on the knee as well.
Hmm.
And I was doing that twice a day, and it was kind of getting better, but not as quickly as I would like.
Hmm.
And so I thought, right, let's go and do another emotion code session and
Yeah.
see what happens. And it said, no, there's no more emotions trapped in the knee. So I thought, okay, let me ask another question.
Hmm.
Is it just a biomechanical issue? And it said, yes. So, okay. Is there a psychological issue? No. Is it a spiritual issue? No. Is it just purely biomechanical? And it said, yeah.
Okay.
So I thought, okay, well, that's good to know.
Yeah. Interesting.
And obviously, having not played tennis for 15 months, even though, I've been going to the gym the whole time, the knee was fine. Obviously, doing different movements is putting different stress through the knee.
Hmm.
So I thought, okay, so let me just think about that for a moment. And so I was thinking about my workouts at the gym, and I was thinking, well, when I do lunges for the last year or so, I've been predominantly doing what's called a back lunge, which is really good for developing acceleration.
Hmm.
And when you play tennis, you have to accelerate, but you have to decelerate as well. And I thought, okay, that I might be onto something. And so I went to the gym and I thought, let me try doing lunges in different directions. And when I did the front lunge, I got the same pain in my knee. I thought, that's interesting. So then I got what's called a Bosu. I don't know if you know what Bosu
I'm
is.
aware.
It's like a half Swiss ball with a flat side up. So then I was doing front lunges onto the Bosu. Within 10 days, pain's completely gone.
Yeah. It's amazing how the body knows how to tell you that you need to pay attention here. And
But obviously the key is when you have an issue like that, you need someone that can interpret what the body's trying to tell you.
Yes, that is very important. Yes.
So I've played tennis the last couple of weeks. Absolutely no pain in the knee at all. There still feels like there's a tiny bit of inflammation in the knee, but that's kind of slowly going. But I just told that quick story just to re-emphasize the point you were making about movement.
Yeah.
So even though I was moving, I was going to the gym, I was doing squats and lunges, but I still wasn't doing the right type of movement that I needed to do for tennis.
Yeah, that's very important. And then also, we most of the times, especially with autoimmunity and Sjogren's, people think that movement means going to the gym and pumping it hard, but that actually increases the cortisol, which is the stress hormone, puts the body more into the sympathetic nervous system mode, and does more harm than good. So that the kind of movement that most people who have autoimmunity need is more like mind-body kind of movement, which is yoga, maybe Tai Chi, or just simple walking in the nature. Just do some start with small, but then aim for like 10,000 steps every day. So that itself is going to be good, and then gradually go into when you're able to do that, then go into strength training. So that really helps. And then going back to the fact about your knee pain, I just remembered that my son has been having this knee pain for a long time. He's young; he's like 26 years old, but he had a meniscus surgery 2 times, and then even after that, the swelling comes and goes in his knees with the pain. And he is also, like me, so he does a lot of research around everything, why the pain is happening. So he found out that to strengthen the joints, we need to strengthen not just the cartilage, but also the tendons, the ligaments, the muscles, and the bone. And so he found a podcast, which is special Air Force Special Forces guy who was talking about all this, and that how most of the industry, which is the rehab industry, also does it all wrong. So we need to strengthen all these things which are never addressed, even when you go for rehabs, which he has experienced firsthand. So just so that listeners can have some perspective around um, pain and joint pains as well.
Yeah, and just going back to my story of my knee pain, what I obviously did do was massively reduce the load I was lifting, right? Because the more load you lift and the faster you move, the more stress goes through the joint. So, but you're absolutely right. What you was explaining, Tai Chi, yoga, walking in the forest, walking on the beach, we term that working in. And when you work in, it's done at a very, very low intensity. And what it actually does, if you do it right and you couple your movement with your breath, it actually increases the energy in your body. So when you move, it creates what's called a piezoelectric current. And what is electricity? It's energy. And if you move slow enough and you create enough energy, some people call it chi, if you create enough energy, you can actually create more energy than the energy you use to create the movement. So you can do something like yoga, if it's, gentle form of yoga, or Tai Chi, or just go for a gentle walk, and you can actually end up with more energy than when you started.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why after a nice walk in the nature or a good session of yoga or Tai Chi, most people feel more energized than tired, because that is what it does. And as you explained scientifically.
Do you know what else is interesting? So many, many, many years ago, I used to go to a qigong class.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a Korean form of qigong,
Okay.
and it was quite a long way from where I lived. But what I would do is I'd get the train home, and walking from the studio to the train station, I couldn't feel the ground under my feet. It was like I was walking on a cloud.
Hmm.
I was just in a unbelievable state of bliss, and I literally just could not even feel my feet touching the ground. It was just like I was walking on a, it was just absolutely incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And again, just going back to the aging thing. So the reason why I originally brought up my story, so I'm 56.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think what most people would have done in my situation was think, oh no, I've got an arthritic knee. That's it for life. I'm going to have to put up with it now.
Yeah.
Whereas my approach was, okay, what's causing this? Let's deal with it at the root cause level.
Yeah. Yeah.
And let's move on.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important part of the process, whether it's pain or even any other health issue. You've got to have a deep belief that you're going to get better.
100%. Yes. That deep belief is definitely needed, because the moment we start believing that we cannot get better, half the battle is lost there. And, the body decides I cannot get better, because whatever our mind will think, our body will start making it a reality for us. And that's definitely a very important part in becoming a health rebel. So if you really want to challenge the status quo and, and make yourself get that dream body, or, get that dream health that you want to, definitely the first step is to believe that your body can do it.
Mm. Yeah. 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 And, in my knee example, I never thought for 1 second it wasn't going to get better. It was just a matter of when. That was the only thing.
Yeah.
And it took a few weeks. What's that out of a whole lifetime? It's nothing, And it didn't stop me going to the gym. It didn't stop me playing tennis. What it did do is it stopped me pushing off hard to change direction quickly. But now I can play back at 100%. Have you ever struggled with pain that just won't go away, no matter how much you train or rest? Fred came to me with a mix of chronic pain in his wrist, back, and leg from years of running, along with concerns about a skin condition that he wanted to address through diet. He was also worried about the time commitment given his busy work and family life. But after sitting down together and creating a tailored plan, everything started to change. We crafted a diet and workout routine that fit his needs, and I adjusted the program along the way to make sure it was aligned with his schedule and goals. I made sure to be flexible, supporting him in every way, from coaching and teaching to motivating and offering guidance that went well beyond fitness. The result? Well, Fred's pain is gone and his workouts have been completely revamped. He's now incorporating everything he learned with me into his training, and he even returned for ART therapy to fine-tune his recovery. Most importantly, he now considers me part of his overall health support system. If you're ready to experience a holistic approach to improving your health, fitness, and well-being, reach out today for a consultation at www.bodycheck.co.uk, and let's create a plan that works for you.
Yeah, yeah. And it also opens up so many mental faculties when you start believing and you start looking for those, looking for those answers. It really opens up so many mental faculties for us when we do that, because, in my example, I was a complete opposite person from what I am today. When I am able to investigate, I'm able to find out the answers. I was not this kind of, although I was still scientific, but I was now not this kind of person before I got Sjogren's. So after that, it has been a complete turnaround for me. And I have so much more knowledge about health and about how to heal the body now, that thinking back, I can't believe that that person could have been this person now. So it does help in so many ways, not just the health. And talking about inflammation, I remember in just about when the COVID hit the world, I think it was March of 2020, right? That's when I actually had a very bad frozen shoulder. So this shoulder actually was so bad that I couldn't move this much. So, and it was so bad that I was like, if I go to the doctor and I know that because I have family members who have had frozen shoulders. The only solution for them was a surgery or a surgical procedure to do something in the shoulder to improve it. And I said, you know what? I'm not going that path anymore. So I started doing, and I realized that my movement also was not happening the way it should be. So I got back into doing yoga at that time. And yoga, with the kind of yoga that I do, is Bikram yoga. And although I did not go into those heated chambers, I still did it in my home. But that movement actually started giving my joints that support that it needed with the help of movement to get those synovial fluids flowing, and the inflammation went away in a month again.
Mm. Yeah, that's a great story. I know, frozen shoulders is actually most common in postmenopausal women.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons is because obviously estrogen is quite anti-inflammatory.
Hmm.
So as the estrogen levels are dropping,
Yeah. Yeah.
then you're more likely to have issues like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do believe that going back to Ayurveda, I think this is one of the things that uh, I had an interview in my Facebook group with a Ayurvedic practitioner who is actually a PhD in Ayurveda. So she's like really into it. And she said that, we are made to believe that all our joints are going to hurt and are going to, become immobile as we grow old. But that is a fallacy because according to Ayurveda, our body has the capability to keep healing itself as we grow old too. Um, and the only problem is the movement and the imbalance in the body of different elements. And that sort of just also makes sense from the functional perspective now that we know most of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So when clients come to you with stubborn, ongoing joint pain, what underlying causes are you often uncovering, and how do you even begin peeling back the layers to get to the root cause?
So, so far, the clients that I have received, I've worked with actually did not have such a bad joint pain. Mostly dry mouth, dry eyes is what they've been coming to me for. But if someone comes to me with joint pains, I would be, looking into first of all the gut health. So what's going on there? So to find out what infections are happening, because there are many infections which are stealth, which are not diagnosed by the conventional medical system only on the basis of having joint pains. So there has to be something very bad going on that you will be diagnosed with having an infection. So there are many infections which do relate to having joint pain. So looking into that, leaky gut is very important to look into, because if there's leaky gut, there is um, endotoxins as well as exotoxins which will be entering the body. Just to explain it to your listeners, exotoxins are toxins that come from the environment, while endotoxins are the toxins which are produced by the microorganisms already inside us. And that can happen. So normally our body has a mechanism where it does not allow these toxins to come into the blood from the gut, because gut is really a barrier. But when that barrier is broken and that leaky gut is there, which means that the tight junctions are not as tight, and it allows the toxins to go in. And that is when all these toxins will go into the blood and go into the different organs and cause a different kind of inflammation. And it really is personal, because for someone it could be Hashimoto's, for some other person it could be joint pains. So I will definitely look into that. And then there's organic acids test that I would do for them to find out what are the other toxins that are being built up in the gut, and how we can remove that, balance out the body again. And the third test that I always do with people who have Sjogren's is the HTMA, which is the hair tissue mineral analysis test, which helps me understand what are the mineral imbalances because of which the cells are not thriving in the body. Um, because if the cells are not thriving, the tissues and the organs will also not thrive. They will also have problems. So when we address all of that, joint pains can be relieved, because everything starts from the gut. Even the hormone imbalances will start from the gut, right? Because 80% of our hormones are also made in the gut.
Yeah.
So that's the path I
So
would take.
yeah, so I'm guessing you'd run stool tests for the gut, right?
That is correct. Yes. So the GI map for the gut, as well as the organic acids test and the HTMA test.
Yeah, yeah. So we've kind of spoken a little bit already about the importance of the connection between the gut and the joints. So can you explain a little bit about how the foods we eat and the health of our microbiome really drive inflammation in the joints? And what practical shifts can people make to start calming that inflammation?
Yeah, for sure. So when our ancestors used to eat, number one, that the food that they used to eat was not laced with such a lot of pesticides and insecticides, whatever. Um, Most of us know these days that gluten is the most pesticide. Well, instead of gluten, I should say wheat is the most pesticide laden crop these days, and half the problem is not gluten; it's the pesticide on the crop, which is glyphosate, which is causing the problem. So definitely find looking for food which is not as polluted with pesticides is the first step to reduce the toxin exposure. And then in terms of talking about the microbiome, our microbiome thrives when there is diversity of the microorganisms. And that diversity really comes from the kind of food we eat. So if the food that we're eating is very restricted, whether it's because of the elimination diets you're doing or whether it's from choice because you don't like eating a lot of food stuff, that is going to cause the microbiome to shrink in a way where the diversity is missing. And when the diversity is missing, and there are only few kinds of microbes which are thriving and the others are not able to thrive, that is going to cause an imbalance inside the microbiome, causing the leaky gut, causing the toxin exposure, and causing all the other different kinds of problems.
Yeah, this is a subject I think is really interesting. One of the things that I've seen, and I've had a few people on the podcast talking about it, there's many people that have had autoimmune conditions
Mm-hmm.
and, they've caused gut problems. And what they've actually done is to go carnivore.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems to have solved their issue. What's your viewpoint, if you have one, on that?
So, I'm not a believer in any diet that you have to do for your whole life, because that is not sustainable. So, carnivore diet has helped people, and I think the reason being that they have cut out on all the carbohydrates, um, which deprive the bacteria which thrive on carbs. But in the long run, we need diversity. Again, coming back to the same thing. In the long run, if we do not have that diversity inside our gut of different foods that come from fruits, from vegetables, from different kinds of meat, and a diversity of entire food, right? So even if it's vegetables, you can blend three kinds of onions when you're cooking. You can blend two types of brassica family foods like Brussels sprouts or cauliflower or broccoli, because every single different kind of food that you'll add to your diet in a day will add to the diversity of the microbiome, and it happens within a day. So and if you don't eat good, it will happen within a day that the diversity will go bad. If you eat good, it can happen within a day that the diversity will improve. So it has to be a daily effort to actually start improving the diet. So carnivore diet is helpful initially, but if it becomes a lifelong thing, it is going to cause harm to the microbiome, is what my take is on
Mm.
it.
Yeah, it's an interesting subject, and you know, looking at the research, because there's so much research that keeps coming
Mm-hmm,
out about the
mm-hmm.
microbiome. It's almost overwhelming to try and keep up with it.
Yeah.
And the overwhelming evidence is that basically what you just said. It's you got to make sure you get plenty of fruits and vegetables, particularly fibrous
Uh-huh.
products. And again, looking at the research, it's like, yeah, don't eat too much meat, don't have too much fat in the diet. But yet, when working with clients, using metabolic typing and individualizing someone's diet and helping them to shape that themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be because I live in the UK, although, I do have clients from all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
Most people do well, I find, on a high fat, high protein, low carbohydrate diet, particularly people like me with white skin, blue eyes, etc. I've just got this question in my head.
Yeah.
I think the research is missing something, but I don't know what it is. And maybe it's because research is done in a way that it doesn't take biochemical individuality into account. Research is often averages, and the norms, but no one is average and no one is the norm.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know the answer. I'm very aware of the research and definitely backs up what you said.
Mm-hmm.
But then I also know people that have been carnivore for 10 years and they look extremely healthy.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to our genes, right? So what our ancestors have been eating. So for most Caucasian people, that has been the diet for a long time, ancestrally speaking. And there are some, for some other people, it might be that diversity of food that they need in terms of ancestral eating. So I think that goes back to the nutrigenomics. That what do your genes remember in terms of the nutrition that your body needs.
Yeah.
So it's really bio individual, and I think it's also something that research has to, more research has to be done on that, and for us to understand.
Yeah. Yeah. And interestingly, I've got an interview coming up with Daniel Huertas, who's been on the show before. And I'm going to ask him a lot of these questions that, the research comes up with, because I know he's got a very different view. So it'll be really interesting to speak to him and ask him the kind of questions that we're discussing here.
Yeah, I'll be listening to it.
Yeah, he's just got such a very different view at looking at things. And, but yeah, anyway, if you haven't already listened to my first episode with him, I would recommend it to the audience to go and have a listen to that.
Yeah, definitely. I'll go back to it too.
So for someone who's bouncing between painkillers and dead ends, where do you suggest they begin? What's the first step out of that frustrating cycle? Are you tired of just managing your chronic pain and ready to start actually overcoming it? I've created a powerful free guide called the Chronic Pain Breakthrough Blueprint, designed to help you uncover the hidden root causes of your pain and give you practical, holistic strategies to finally feel like yourself again. Whether you've been in pain for months or years, this guide will help you start asking the right questions, identify overlooked triggers, and take back control of your health one step at a time. It's completely free. Just hit the link in the show notes to download the Chronic Pain Breakthrough Blueprint today and take your first real step towards lasting relief.
So the first step definitely is to start addressing their diet, because everything starts with the kind of food we put inside our bodies. Go for as much as organic food as you can. Go to the local farmers, get the food from them, because you can talk to them. You can ask them what are the pesticides they've added to the food or not, and source your food locally, because whenever the food travels, um, for supermarkets, it travels with a lot of preservatives on it so that the food does not go bad. But that preservative, if you think about it, what does the preservative do? The preservative is there to not let the fungus or the bacteria grow on the food. And when that happens, that nutritionally, that food becomes of zero value for our body. So eating it does not give us anything. So source it from local farmers, source it from local, eat seasonal, eat organic. That first step itself is going to be very, very helpful for the body. And then add as much as movement as you can in the day. If you if you are someone who is able to tolerate going to the gym and do the workouts, do that at least 2 or 3 times a day, strength training, walking rest of the days. If you have autoimmunity and you have high stress levels, I don't recommend strength training, but walking definitely at 10,000 steps every day, and that does not have to be in a stretch. You could, you know, do different, like 4 times this many steps to together make it 10,000 steps. Filter your water. Don't drink the water that comes in the tap, because that is never in any country the purest form of water that you can get. So these 3 steps, and then also focusing on your sleep, because in the modern world, we are it is glamorized to not want to sleep, but our body needs the sleep to actually get into that repair mode where the body can actually start healing everything that is going wrong in the body. So these 4 things are the starting steps to actually start helping the body to get into that mode where it can do the healing, it can do the rest, the digest, all of that.
Mm. Yeah, and again, talking about preservatives, I don't know if you've seen, some people have got Big Macs and fries that are like 25 years old,
Oh, yes.
and they
Yes.
still haven't started
Oh, yeah.
decomposing. And
Mm,
so, wow,
that's a
what is
big
that? What
food.
is that doing when that's in your gut?
Yeah.
It's just
It's killing everything in the gut too.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and again, in terms of movement, it can be tricky for someone when they're in pain,
Yeah.
because movement can cause the pain. But I would say try and do as much movement as you can in a way that doesn't cause pain, whichever modality that might be for you. And one that's really good is in water,
Yeah.
because you've got the buoyancy and it takes the stress off of your joints, whether it's swimming or whether it's just walking. I mean, even people that have got quite serious knee injuries, they can probably jog in water because
Yeah.
there's almost zero force going through the joints, and actually the movement of the water against the skin is actually quite healing as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, for sure.
but just be careful. Just be careful of what swimming pool you go in,
Yeah.
because quite often they're very high of chlorine.
Yeah.
Or if you're gonna go into natural water, again, just be aware of if there's any sewage in there. I know somewhere like the west coast of America, California, I know there's so much sewage gets dumped in the sea there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
That's the unfortunate reality, right? We have to think so much before going into nature too. But um, once you're able to find the right place to, go into water or do the walking, I think it will be really helpful. So when I had these bad joint pains in that time, the thing that helped me most is one, walking, and then yoga. So these two things were the things which really really helped me improve. The pain was going away as I was moving. So although we feel that we have pain, we can't move. But even if you start small and then build on it, whether it's yoga or walking, it will be really really helpful for the body because it'll thank you for it.
mm. Yeah, I mean, I actually used to do Bikram yoga.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I just love Bikram yoga.
Going back a few years, and I remember there was a lady in class, and she had lower back pain.
Mhm.
And at the start of every class, the teacher always says, "Right, has anyone got any injuries?" And she put her hand up, say, "Yeah, lower back pain." And again, I'm going along as a class participant, but I really wanted to reach out to her and say, "I can probably help you with your lower back pain."
Yeah.
But sometimes something like yoga can actually aggravate a problem as well. And interestingly, after I'd been doing Bikram yoga for, I think it was about 18 months, I actually blew a disc in my spine. And I do think
Oh
that
wow.
actually was part of the cause of the problem. It was multifaceted.
Yeah.
Um, but, lots of the forward bending and the side bending and the rotation, I think my discs just didn't like that at all.
Hmm.
Um,
I'm sorry
so,
about that.
so I think, again, I just wanted to emphasize the point. Everyone needs to find their own way that works for them.
Yeah.
Because again, if someone's got a disc bulge, yoga's probably not going to be the right thing for them. But maybe something like Tai Chi and Qigong or walking. I know, again, I've had disc bulges myself. Walking was one of the things that did help. There's no way I could have done yoga. Absolutely no way. It just wouldn't. I wouldn't even have attempted to get into some of those positions. So, people do need to be careful. Although, however, I must just add, I do have a book called Anatomy of Yoga for Posture and Health, and it does actually have 3 different types of poses to do depending on your specific posture. And you could also,
Yeah.
again, if you had a back issue, one of them might actually work for you. It's out of print, but you can get the versions on Kindle still. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's always an option. But yeah, I just think it's really important that people move in a way that's not problematic for them. So let's just say you've got pain in a particular joint and it's like a 2 or a 3 most of the time. If you go and do an event and it's like a 6 or a 7, it's like that's not the right kind of movement for you. You need to find something else that doesn't increase your level of pain. Like if you're
Yeah.
still at a 2 or 3, like say you go for a swim, it's like, yeah, it feels the same.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the movement for you.
For sure. For sure. And I would like to add that whenever you're doing any kind of movement and it's hurting, you have to listen to your body and not push too hard, because body is always communicating with us. So pain is how body communicates. And if it's paining more, you need to, step back and reduce the intensity, if not change the activity. But if you want to change it and try something else and see what works for you, that also is a good idea. But always listen to the body, whether you're doing walking, whether you're doing yoga, tai chi, qigong, or any other modality. Always, always, always listen to the body.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, when I was doing Bikram yoga, I always felt great. Never had any pain doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I just woke up one morning and I thought, oh, that's a bit stiff.
So similar thing happened to me actually. I pushed myself too hard and I had a bad hamstring, I think a muscle tear. So my entire back of my, I think right hamstring was like a big patch of blood clot there, and I didn't even realize it because I was just pushing hard. And that was the point from where I realized that, okay, I have to listen to my body. I don't have to push too hard. So go slow, and that helped.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely correct. So what's next for you, Divya?
For next for me is just trying to help as many people as I can, create more impact, um, and so that people start believing that autoimmunity is curable, if not by the conventional medicine, at least by following the diet and lifestyle and functional medicine, holistic methods, which are now proven to actually start heal. They're proven to heal the body. So believe in that, and um, create that ripple effect where people believe that autoimmunity is curable, and it is actually healable, if not curable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, looking at it from a kind of medical point of view, medical professionals tend to think that autoimmunity is just a random thing that happens. Your body just starts attacking itself.
Yeah, nothing in the body is random, actually.
Yeah, it's like, no, there's something in your body that shouldn't be in there. That's why your immune system is, on full alert.
Yeah.
It's going too hard because there's things in there that shouldn't be in there.
Mm-hmm.
And like you say, oftentimes it's coming from the gut.
Yeah. And especially for autoimmunity, we need to focus a lot on the gut.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And where can people find you online? Where do you want to send people?
So, if someone is interested in finding out more about how they can, help their autoimmunity or Sjogren's, then they can get in touch with me on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn. So, quickly, my Instagram handle is Sjogren's Queen. My Facebook page is Sjogren's Solution, and you can also contact me on my personal page, which is Divya Dhawan. And then I also have a page on LinkedIn, which is Sjogren Solution. And I also have a personal page, which is Divya Dhawan. So anywhere they can contact me. And if they are willing to go a step further and book a call with me, then I'm not sure, but you can probably drop a link of my Practice Better link so that they can book a free Sjogren's Roadmap call for 15 minutes with me so that we can understand what's going on and sort of give them an idea of how they can navigate this and create a roadmap for them.
Awesome. Great stuff. Divya, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this conversation with a fellow FDM practitioner. It's been really fun.
Yeah, likewise. I really enjoyed the deep conversations we had today, and with a fellow FDN, of course.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you.
So that's all from Divya and me for this week. But make sure to join me same time, same place next week on the Radical Health Rebel podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to give the show a rating and a review, and I'll see you next time.